Namaste, greetings, and welcome to episode number 112. And I think there is some problem with my video, so give me like half a second to sort it out. It seems a little odd. Now there is. This is fine. Okay, once again, welcome to episode 112 of your show Manage Better, the show where I try and have conversations with people who have helped others manage their life better at work, in person, to become a better person, and so on. And over the last 4 years, I've been able to speak to many guests who can help us in our careers, in our personal life, in multitude of ways, whether it is improving quality, improving our customer experience, improving finances, personal finance, fitness, becoming a better executive, and so on. And one area that keeps coming back each time is about becoming a CXO. CXO is generally a term and we will learn soon, generally a term which is used for CEO, CFO, CHRO, and all the other bits. And I've been head of quality in a global organization for a long time now, in multiple organizations. So in a way, I've been there and I know a little bit, uh, and that's the experience that I bring. But in during my coaching sessions, when I meet people, most of them have an aspiration to become a CXO and of some kind, right? So of course there will be various layers, and they don't know the path. And not many people are able to help such people. I certainly can't, because I also don't know and I don't have a format or a method to do this. But a good friend of mine, Radhika Balakrishnan, has been doing this for now a few years, right? At least last 4 odd years or so, in a very organized way. So she has a program about CXO incubator, a company actually, a CXO incubator, and where she helps people to become a better CXO in their path. Firstly, become one and then become a better one. So, and she's my guest today. And this is a new time I am trying, Sunday evening, just with based on feedback that I got, that Saturday morning shows sometimes are a little difficult for people. So I thought, I took some feedback and said, okay, let us try this Sunday evening. Let's see how many of you join. And look, we will be encouraged if you have joined on LinkedIn and can drop a comment, or on YouTube as well. This show is live on both the platforms, and I will bring in Radhika in a second. So Radhika, apart from of course being a good friend and a member of the LinkedIn Creator Accelerator Program, a fellow top voice, she is on a mission to enable 100,000 or 1 lakh high performing professionals to unleash their full potential. And through the CXO incubator program and other related programs that she runs, she is on that mission. Uh, she's a chartered accountant by profession, started working at long back, and I think, if I remember right, 2018, she moved out of the corporate mainstream and surprisingly got very interested in the psychology of why people work and do certain things and all, and did an actual diploma in that space. And that shows her commitment, that she wanted to get into this space only after learning something more better about that space, not for 1 or 2 weeks course, a proper 1 year course. And that's how things should be done. If you want to get into something, you better know the formal informal mechanism as well. uh, and I will, when she comes in, I will let her speak a little bit more about her program. But I and everybody else on LinkedIn know her as the CXO incubator, coach, and she runs this executive group coaching program, which is very popular. And for the last I think, couple of years, she's also upgraded it to the Future of India conference and many other initiatives. So let's not waste any more time and get Radhika on stage. Radhika ji, namaskar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Anshuman, and it's lovely to be back again with you. It's always amazing to see to collaborate with fellow Top Voice, LinkedIn Top Voice, and I must tell everyone that it is because of LinkedIn that we are here together. So thank you so much for having me on your show.
No, no, my pleasure totally. Any opening comments you have, Radhika, before we get into the questions that we have for you?
Sure. So one of the key things is everyone you mentioned as to everyone aspires to becoming a CXO. So what is CXO? Probably why is it that everybody is so keen? I mean, back then when I initially started my career with ICICI Bank, and I spent more than 15, 16 years with them. And the first day when I walked into the organization, and I was barely 22 years of age. And then I looked at and I walked into this posh office and I look up and down. It was one of the first glass buildings in the city. And
Yeah.
I looked at it and I said that one day I want to be at the top of this pyramid. So that's when my aspiration to become CXO actually began. And I met, I used to see the likes of KV Kamath, Nachiket Moore, and various other Kalpana Morpare, and various people walking in and out. And I used to be just amazed at the kind of impact they were creating and the cloud they could carry and the decision they could make, which could actually shake up many decisions for the country as a whole. So they were the pioneers in many various sectors, and I felt that what an amazing place it should be for executing your ideas, for sharing your thoughts, and making a difference to people. And that's how my journey began. Of how why would I have felt to becoming a leader or a CXO? So maybe that could be a good way to start this on today on a Sunday evening where we are discussing how to become a CXO.
Fantastic. And we have great competition. IPL auction is going on. So those who are
Yes.
looking at that and wondering why is somebody getting 25 crores and 20 crores and 10 crores and all, and you can't see any logic, you can come here. We will tell you a more short path of how you can work your way through, maybe not get 25 crores, but definitely somewhere where you will be fulfilling your potential. So that's the plan. And Radhika, like you said, sometimes these images become inspirational. So you saw, of course, the building, and then had this vision that you wanted to be at the top of that building, metaphorically, of course. And something similar happened to me also when I started my career as a young engineer in Nagpur. Actually, a little 60 kilometers from Nagpur. The works director of that plant, or head of that plant in many ways, was a guy, SK Single, and he was always immaculately dressed, very well spoken. He would really carry himself well. And we were this shabby, engineering pass out and more looking like dropouts. So, so I used to think, man, ऐसा होता है बंदा, so this is, that was the vision for me. I of course didn't know what he did and how he did, and but that, so there is that image also that sometimes becomes, because we see people first before we experience them, right? So in many ways, so, and I've always felt that you not only become a CXO, you also should look like one, or behave like one and act like one. Not to say that in an inauthentic way, of course, as an authentic this thing, but all that is also a package. And we've had multiple conversations around this topic, so uh, you know what I mean. But I have some questions for you, slightly difficult ones. So let's let's get going. First one is an easy one though. What is a CXO? The term is sometimes, like many other terms, sometimes used without knowing what it means. And when you, of course, coach the cohorts that you take, what is a CXO for you?
A very good question. I mean, I think it's one of the most fundamental aspects of understanding, asking what is a CXO all about. So, for the very beginners, I would say that it is the position. It's every organization has a pyramid. So we have pyramid which starts with people who are starting at the junior management, then moving on to a senior management, middle management, then senior management. And typically, there are few people at the very top who are considered the chief, were considered the chief for managing different aspects of the business. Ultimately, a business is run not just by one person, it's run by a team of people. And for those businesses to run profitably, to grow in an immaculate fashion, and to create shareholder value and investor value, We need people at the top most to think wider, to contribute and add value to each of the departments. So these are all chief of all these departments. So you have a marketing chief, you have a finance chief, you have a operating chief, you have digital media chief. So we have different chief operating chief. X stands for, it's like in algebra you have X. So you put the whatever terminology you want, you put that as X, and then that becomes a CXO. Now the key factor is, what is that X factor that takes you to become a CXO? It's also a position which gives you a lot of power. It also a position which gives you a lot of decision making abilities. At the same time, it comes with a huge round of responsibility. And honestly, one has to be resilient to take a lot of dirt as well, because it whenever a leader is there, leaders, while from outside it looks very flamboyant, it looks very, like you said, right? I saw this man, he was immaculately dressed, very tip top, pinstriped clothes. Yes, we all see it from outside, coming from a posh car, people opening the door, welcoming them. All these are very fancy, but it does come with a lot of responsibility. And one has to develop a metal to deal with the kind of judgment that they go through. So it's not so straightforward as it seems like. While for anybody aspiring to becoming a CXO, the external factors can be easily attractive, like it was for me when I was 22, it was for you when you saw this person. It is very easy to get attracted to the external factors, but the internal thing is, how do you manage yourself in these positions of responsibility? How do you manage yourself with the metal to make it right? Because every decision you make, you are only going to keep making decisions after decisions after decisions after decisions each day. That's the job of being the chief. The job of a chief is not to do the work. How do you train your brain? How do you train your mind to be relevant to take those decisions? That becomes the most challenging aspect of becoming a CXO. So one has to work on to build that aspect. Like you said, right? Be a CXO, act like a CXO, train to be one. And that's what we focus on CXO Incubator.
Brilliantly said. I think pretty much an overview of what you do as well. And the little that I have seen in my career also, including my own roles over the last several years now, at least last few years have been in quote unquote CXO kind of roles, if not always CXO. And in global organizations, so that also means that you also tend to handle the global aspects of the same thing, and that adds a layer sometimes. Slightly more complicated also. So the the question that comes up, of course, from this definition, Radhika, is that we all have deliverables. You know what I deliver, what I are required to do. But as a CXO point of view, what deliverables are key to succeed in a CXO kind of role? And is that enough? If I start delivering, will I become CXO? We'll maybe cover that later. But what deliverables do you think? And you did hint a little bit in your previous answer, but I just want to poke that question a little bit. What deliverables will a CXO have? You clearly said that you are not expected to do as in physically do things. So, what deliverables would a CXO have? Typical CXO.
Actually, a very interesting question. So, if one has to go back and see how, before I jump into that question, I just wanted to,
Sure.
because we have people who are aspiring to become, how to become a CXO. So, I think those are the people who are watching this. So, the question to ask is, on my way to becoming a CXO, today as a
Hmm.
mid manager or as maybe even a senior management, we all are given certain deliverables. KRAs are
Hmm.
there, KPAs are there. They assess at the end of the year that these are the 10 things to be done to achieve A, B, C, D, E. And once we complete this, we go through an assessment process and you get a feedback. Based on the feedback, you either get that little promotion or your, say, salary increase, whatever is the result, we get it. But my question is that enough?
Hmm.
Is that enough to becoming a CXO? Now, there are people in my coaching who have finished 15 years, 18 years, even 20 years. They are fantastic in their job. They are
Hmm.
amazing at what they do. But when it comes to selecting a CXO, they don't get selected when they join me. Okay, not after they join me, before they join me. And that's why
Hmm.
they join me. So the question is, why is it that when you are so good, when you are a high performing professional, yet having everything with you, all the tick boxes are there, yet you don't get promoted, which effectively means that there are some elements which you should be doing, which is visible, that similar to what a CXO does. As I always say, you elevate yourself to the position of becoming a CXO, then the promotion and the role and everything starts following up with you. So it is not that you have to wait for becoming a CXO to start delivering like a CXO. So what
Yeah.
are the few elements which are missing right now between a mid-level, senior level professional and the CXO? Step one is always ask beyond my deliverables and skills, which I'm assuming that is high for most people, which
Correct.
should be, because वो नहीं है, that is basic. वो नहीं है तो we there is no point having any further discussion. Assuming these two are met, what are the remaining factors which will help? How visible are you to people? Because the role of a CXO is largely people management,
Hmm.
be it your internal stakeholders, external stakeholders, uh, multiple, across the divisions, across all these segments of being not just product, not just operations, but sales, business, product, in IT. You have to spread your wings managing people across all the segments. So how good are you? So for that, first step is, how good are you? What is your visibility factor
Hmm.
internally? What is your visibility factor externally, external to your organization? This is a very big factor. A lot of times, after spending 20 years in one organization, you become so rooted to one organization that one tends to forget there is a world outside. I'm not saying you should jump and take up a new job, but your new customers at the CXO level are outside.
Correct.
Be it a new client, be it getting a business, be it getting a new vendor, everybody is outside. How visible are you to the external market as well, even including your investors? In fact, many companies have their investors have a say in selecting the CXOs. Whether this person is, how well are they visible to the market outside? So these two important factors. Third factor is about what kind of a person you are. Are you an influencer? Do people hear you out? Do if you say something, how many people are there today to follow you? So
Listen.
this
Yeah.
is an influencing capacity is one. And then one most important factor is impact. What is the impact are you creating? The gap between where you are today and where you want to be, there is a huge difference in the impact. For a person from finance who is aspiring to be a CFO, asking yourself the question, am I creating the impact that my CFO is creating today? Or
Hmm.
is it less? The moment I lift myself to creating bigger and bigger impact, I will start reaching that position. So these are all the elements which are today missing, and these are all the elements which starts getting fulfilled as one moves up the scale. And yes, coming back to your question, what is the role of a CXO? Is largely on people management, taking decisions, being resilient with difficult decisions to be taken. There are times when,
Hmm.
and owning those decisions. There are times when, whenever anything is black or white, non-human, you can take a decision, but all business decisions will be in a shade of gray. And yet you have to take a call. You have to take decisions in at times of uncertainty. That is the quality to be built. When anything is certain, anybody can take a decision. A leader's role is to take decisions under uncertainty. So these are the broad spectrum I could probably think of when you asked this question. I mean, I may have gone a little stretched over it.
No, no, no. I think
But
this is like laying the land a little bit for, and this is a vast subject, and I the last point that you were making, I always tell him sometimes in my team meetings also that we have to sometimes take decision about which is the less, where will we make less loss. It's not always profit. That's the easier decision, but in both conditions we are losing something. In sometimes we lose some people also. So if you go this way, you might lose the person who was propagating another path, and that he or she will then maybe want to part ways or may not like it, and xyz and so on. But you have to take that tough decision because you have to move
and they
ahead,
are very
and
unpopular decision.
very unpopular decision, and
Very
I can tell
unpopular
you.
decision. And I see some of my some of them very closely. When I coach them, they literally share their uh, disheartenment that they have to do this despite they don't want to do certain things. Like in the larger interest of the organization, they have to let go people, and it's the
Yeah.
most difficult thing to do. But it is still something. It's a job that needs to be done, and it's very tough. Drains you out
It,
emotionally as well.
yeah, I mean, I of course didn't want to make this conversation about that, but it's a very, very important role. And somebody has asked a question. Rishabh Saxena has asked a question of how difficult is it for CXOs to take decisions like cutting costs, attracting and keeping talent, and balancing these two imperatives for ensuring future growth. So, Rishabh, exactly that what we are discussing is that uh, particularly cutting costs, keeping the right talent, and all these are very, very complex situations. Keeping talent is often boils down to money as well. So if you cannot pay the person and somebody else is willing to pay a little bit more or a lot more, you don't have the capacity to pay, and you meaning the organization, it's a no deal. The person will walk away, and that makes it very, very complex. Whatever you may have invested in terms of good people management and relationship skills and everything else, at the end of the day, money will win. In most cases, maybe not in all, but most cases. So it is difficult, like Radhika said. But we will take some more audience questions, Radhika, with time. But let's quickly moving on. Um, and one of the questions I had is that, and I get this question a lot in whatever little coaching I do, is that people say that I do my job very well, but I still don't get selected for these roles. And you clearly identified that there's always much more than uh, this doing your job well. So, in moving on to another area where people who are candidates for CXOs are usually now in mid or senior mid career, so they have we can assume that they know the functional aspects of the job, which means what is to be done, how it is to be done. All those aspects are usually covered. Of course, there will be more, but the basics are well covered. So, in your work that you see, what do you see as key differentiators between mid senior management and the CXO role? Same person in this role, mid senior, and when he or she makes that move. And you did mention a little bit earlier, but I just want you to summarize so that people see this as a key learning point in this conversation.
Got it. So there have been situations, there have been good positive cases also where my coaches, after doing the program, understanding their strengths, understanding their capabilities, knowing their core values, what their purpose, they have leveraged it and position and building their brand. They have leveraged it to uh, reach these positions of a CXO. Reaching
Mm,
a CXO is one part of it. But now, after reaching there, a new game starts. So that's
mm,
what you're saying, that what happens when you are before CXO, what happens? One, um, uh, one, of course, it's a great accomplishment because out of so many, you are one of those few to be leading the path. But the journey becomes more lonely. That's one of the biggest thing. One of the thing is
mm,
people do get lonely because you are looked up to find answers for all solutions.
yeah.
You You have to always keep thinking out of the box. You may have feelings which you want to share, which you can't really share openly with everybody because you're always under the scream of judgment. So one
Yeah.
of the key things which I notice is this, that journey becomes lonely, but it also becomes challenging. And of course, if you have reached that position because you want that challenge, you want that fun. And the respect factor in your social status goes up a lot. Okay, so let me talk about the positives. So respect factor goes up a lot. People start and getting inspired by you. Though people who probably did not even look up at you as somebody great suddenly thinks of you as something, an accomplished person. But on the flip side, work becomes more hectic, and your contribution to your stakeholders, you become accountable to your stakeholders. Till the time you
Hmm.
were a senior management, you had a CXO to take care of that for you. You could push it
Hmm.
up. Now the buck largely stops at you. You can't go and push it up to
Yeah.
a board or a CEO. You have to take those decisions and take those ownership. That's a very, very big differentiator. And which
Hmm.
means that one has to build a resilience, one has to build a thought process which is aligned to take on difficult and tough decisions, tough calls. And as one of the easy calls and tough calls, easy calls, and you have to learn to share your credit with a lot more people, but take the ownership when anything goes wrong. This is the very big differentiator. You don't have anybody to blame anything on, but take the stand and stand there.
In my area, operational excellence, Radhika, I anyway teach all my team members that we in cricket parlance, and everybody in India will get this a little better. That in cricket parlance, we are always the runners. So batsman is hitting the ball, scoring the run. The run is not complete without us, but it is
Correct.
never credited to us. So it is never credited to, and so operational excellence people are actually quite used to not getting any credit for anything. And but they can run out other people, so we can run out the main batsman very easily. But if we run 3 runs or or any number, we don't get any credit at all. So that piece I know very well. Let's take one more question from the audience. Praveen Neil, he's Mumbai based CEO in a mid-sized
How do we
healthcare organization, if I
sustain?
remember. So in this position, his question is, in this position, how do we sustain and keep team members taking to the next position, or helping them to get to the next position and getting the job done? He is currently a CEO, like I mentioned. So anything that you can mention or you can share with him. Thank you, Praveen, for your question. Let's see what Radhika has.
Thank you so much, Praveen. A very pertinent question, actually. One of the key things as a leader is to see how you can align people to a common goal or a common purpose. Now, there are different levels at why do the question is simple. Why do I go to work? Every
Hmm.
day I am going to work. My team members come to work. Why am I working? When I ask this question, so people can come up with multiple answers for salary, for sustenance, for safety, for security. How many of us actually come because we want to create a very large organization?
Yeah.
We want to take this organization to be India's number one, globally number one. The moment I am able to lift people from their own little goals and align them with a larger goal, larger purpose, larger mission, they start identifying a purpose to what they are doing. And
Hmm.
this is a very big driving factor. Now, I'll give a small example. Back in the days when my father in law was alive, I used to always hear he used to work for Tata Electric, Tata Power. So when he used to be very passionate about his job. He has fought
Hmm.
with the union. He has fought with this. He used to eat, sleep, breathe Tata Power. And I
Hmm.
always wondered what has happened. And even when he passed away, people, everybody from the department used to come and share stories about what kind of a passionate person my father-in-law was. And that made me actually think that how can one build this kind of a mindset? Because this is so powerful that he doesn't worry about what is happening to me. His aim and goal was how to make my company the best.
Hmm.
And if we are able to create that kind of, so it effectively means that the organization somewhere created that path, somewhere
Purpose.
there was a narrative in that space where the top management was able to share a purpose, that he could align himself with that, and that pushed him forward in his journey. And that's why in CXO incubator as well, or even the one-on-one coaching when I do, I help people find their purpose so that eventually they are able to percolate it into their teams and align it
Hmm.
with the organization's purpose and lift themselves to bring out that energy that is required for results. So, giving a goal of the next promotion can be incentivizing for some people, but may not be incentivizing for all.
Or
So it's very
everyone. Yeah.
important to identify what role each one is playing. Like, for example, for me, purpose and aligning with the super goals was always incentive from the time I joined the bank. That was what motivated me at all times. The promotion and
Hmm.
salary was part two, but part one for me was that. So, but each one comes with different motivation and different
Different. Yeah.
purpose. So, as a leader, as a COO, try and identify what works for each person, but those who align with the purpose. And for that, I need to also know why I am there. And that's when you can help others and align them and make a team for growth together. And when few people align, others eventually start forming that group. I hope that
Totally.
helped Praveen.
Yeah, I think I know Praveen a little bit, so I could understand the context of this question, and I think this will be very useful. I was about to ask a question, but I see that somebody has asked the same question in a better um, language. So let me pick that up. This is Lakshdeep Call. Lakshdeep, thank you for your question. He's talking about that we are discussing the what and why of CXO. He wants to know, in his words, I am looking forward to key aspect of how how to be a CXO, how to elevate yourself to CXO level in the industry or in the organization, how is it going to what key actions or steps to be taken, and so on. So a little bit of that you covered. So Lakshdeep, if you didn't join at the beginning of the session, you if you rewind and the recording, you will get some of it. But I'll still request Radhika to summarize it for all of us because it's a very important question and maybe the most important question in this entire session today is that I have the why, I probably have the what. Now what do I do? And maybe this is also good segue, Radhika, for how do you help such people in your coaching? Because assumption
Sure.
is that when people come to you, they already have some idea of why and what. May not be crystal clear, but the fact that they've reached your door means that they already have some idea of why and what. It can be clarified, it can be polished, but they have some idea. But they have zero idea or no idea or very limited idea about the what, the how part. So anything for Lakshdeep and the audience in general?
Sure. No worries. Um, this is what or why even CXO incubator effectively was born out of. So let me just spill out the beans without much this thing. Three steps. First one, start working on your personal brand. What is your personal brand? Who you are without the backing of your organization should be known. This was one very big learning for me when I had to take a maternity break back then, and I had certain issues, so I quit the job. 2 years, nobody contacted me. Nobody from the organization. I mean, I used to meet lot of people, 50 people, 100. All of them used to talk to me when then they have a work with me, be it clients, be it stakeholders, be it peers, whoever it was. Once you leave your job, you are on your own. So, very important thing is what is your personal brand and what does it stand for? Start working on your personal branding. This which should be independent of which organization you're working for. Second is start working on your impact journey. Start creating impact at a level higher than what you're creating today. What is impact? How many people get benefited through you, and how many people get impacted through the job you do. So if that number is say 10 today, what can I do to make it 50? What can I do to make it 100? What can I do to make it 10,000? This should be the way of thinking. Third thing is widen your network. Today, if you look around yourself, if you have, if you go and pronounce to anybody, I want to become a CXO. How many people are there to stand next to you and say that I applaud you, I applaud you, and I think I wish you all the best and let go for it? How many people are there in your circle to hoot for you, shout for you, say that? Because the path is going to be difficult. It is not a straightforward path. If I tell you, "Oh, it's a very simple three-step formula," nahi hone wala hai. But you need that ecosystem which will help you. These are the three reasons where I find a lot of people who are high performing potential aspiring CXOs need to put their next step forward now that they are already good with what they do. And these are the three things which I focus a lot on during the course that I do, coaching sessions. Now, इसमें डीप जाते हैं, so it's not just
Hmm.
ऊपर ऊपर से what is the branding. ये
Yeah.
तो you pick up any book, you will find enough and more things, but we go into the depth of it to identify how can I create the most authentic personal brand of yours, which will start from your core values. When was the last time you sat down to understand your blueprint, which includes your personality, your passion, your interest, your potential? When did you discover that these together form part of who I am? What are my likes? What are my. So, when I get into these depths, I have a
Hmm.
bigger framework. Then you start, it's like how you do Anshuman in your Operation Excellence. You go back to blueprint, right? You go back to
Yeah.
blueprint, you pick all the elements, you place them, then you start drawing the map. So
Yeah.
if I have to consider each of my participant as a product, what do they bring with them? So what is their personality? What is their potential? What is their core values? What is their thinking? What is their mindset right now? Are they thinking in the leadership mindset? Are they thinking in the manager mindset? What are the things one can do? How can I push them to start thinking in a manner which is going to align themselves with the path that they want to walk? So, अगर आप जहाँ हो खुश हो, मुझे कोई टेंशन नहीं है, लेकिन आप जहाँ हो वहाँ you are not happy, but you want to be at another place and you are not taking any action, that is when you will be very unhappy.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the core is happiness. The whole reason why somebody wants to do all this is because they realize that they have potential to do more, and if guided, they can actually do more. Of course, in this space, there will be some people who have misplaced ambition and may not have the competence, and that also will come handy if they get some feedback that look, competence wise you have this much, you are overreaching, so it will take a lot of effort to overreach. I have some members, I've coached a few people over the last maybe 5 6 years. In clearly some cases I remember that I had to give them the bitter pill that look, the current evidence of the competence you have and the ambition is zero matching, there is no match. So by putting Elon Musk a poster on your wall, you don't get his IQ. You just put that poster. That's all. So sometimes that pill is also required, which I'm sure you recognize. So that's the bitter side of all this kind of work. I'm getting really good questions, Radhika. I think the audience is far more interested in this kind of topic, and my entire preparation for this conversation is of no use now. So the next time I will just announce that, okay boss, I'm opening the session, I will ask one question, and after that it is your questions. So let's
Your
take
work is
Murthy.
easier.
Yeah, yeah. This I still have to have some backup questions though. But Murthy's questions, he's a profile similar to mine, operational excellence, MNC kind of roles, and has been in head of operational excellence kind of roles, and similar roles for a while. So his question is around, of course, thank you, Murthy, first of all, awesome discussion and insights. My question to you is that an aspiring CXO ideally needs to transition from being a functional leader to be an organizational leader and then to see an industry leader. Nice one. To have the right kind of visibility and impact. Would love to hear your thoughts, opinions, pointers, whatever, on how one prepares and achieves such a transition over a period of 15 to 25 years. So, firstly, I like your time period, Murthy. 15 to 25 years is the right way to think about it. Nothing happens in 1 or 2 years. But Radhika, anything for Murthy? I think his question is, in summary, is that how does one make the move from functional to organizational to industry leader over a long period of time? What are the key things that happen in that space?
Very, very good question, Murthy, and thank you for asking that question. I have always asked this question to myself, who decides? So, because I see that 15 to 25 years, I asked this question to myself back in 8, 9 years back. Who decides my growth path? Who
Hmm.
decides my growth path? Do I have the control over my growth path? Organization can tell me that if I am X level, for me to become Y level or Z level, every 3 years, one promotion will happen normally. So, in that space, if one is starting at a functional level right now, say, so jate, is it so linear? Is the growth so linear? There are people who achieve things even when they're 40 under 40. So, who decides your growth? That's question number one. This I asked myself, and that's when I decided that I will decide my growth path. And maybe within this organization, I have to find a route because there are people who grow faster than the norm, which is daily, which is always which is listed. Or I have to find a way to grow at the rate of the industry's growth. So these are two things which I decided that I will grow at my pace, irrespective of what happens. So I have to find out methods. What can I do to ensure that I accelerate my path? If I am one of those who is creating their visibility, their impact, their networking at a faster pace, then is it necessary that I will grow only at this pace? So I actually leave this question to all of you because it's not a linear answer. There are methods, there are ways where people use that's where your skill set comes into play. How good are you with people? How good are you with creating impact? How good are you to think out of the box? How good are you to fearlessly go and reach out to management and share your ideas? And for all this, conviction is required, and how strongly you believe in yourself for your growth.
Really well said. I think, Murthy, I hope you have your. And these are questions that don't necessarily have an answer, they are pointers. So, thank you, Radhika, for that. We are getting closer to the last quarter of the conversation. So, I also wanted to take this opportunity. You are doing some, and I saw a lot of online social media stuff where you are doing some event next week, next
Right.
weekend actually. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how's this connected? This is your CXO stuff, and the conference that you seem to be doing is a little bit more expensive and bigger. Any connection, or these are two different things? Tell us a little bit more about that.
So
So.
sure. So what happens is so far we have CXO incubator was started in January 2022. That was my
Hmm.
first batch I started, and today we are on 2024 December, and we are completing 3 years of CXO incubator. So as part of the 3 year celebration, we are having a very mega event in Bombay. One day is in Bombay, but we are having a mega event where we are organizing a 1 week boot camp. So it's a
Hmm.
1 week boot camp for aspiring CXOs to learn about the uh, steps as to what are the steps they can take to achieve their goals, to achieve their path. More importantly, to understand what their blind spots are, to know their strengths, to align their CXO circle, to understand what is their next stage of
Hmm.
influence. Now, as an individual, I may hear this podcast, I may read some book, but
Yeah.
after this podcast is over, it's back business as usual. Dinner time, TV time, wind up, close, tomorrow morning, Monday, get up and go to work. When is the time you will take to spend at least 10 minutes on yourself to know and jot down different parts? These were the thoughts which we as a community came. So today we have about 200 professionals who have gone through this coaching program with CXO Incubator. And as this outreach programs, we have impacted more than 5,000 people. Last just few months back, I did a program in Dubai as well. And now we are also
Hmm.
stepping, putting our shoes outside this country as well. So this 1 week boot camp is a space which individually professionals can gift it to themselves, where we will have different assignments given. So my program is very action oriented, less of talking, more of actions, because at this level of where you are mid senior level, you know everything. आपके
Hmm.
पीछे इतना बुक्स है, उससे समझ में आ गया कि सब लोग आपके फ्रेंड्स इतने ही बुक्स पढ़ते होंगे या सुनते होंगे.
That
Nowadays you can
this.
even listen to books. So when I say you listen to all this, you know everything. But what is the differentiator? Is actions. And to take actions, you need steps. So these are the steps that we will be sharing with you during the whole week. Also, it will all be very easy to manage on WhatsApp. We will be sharing some challenges. You submit it. Every submission will receive a review, and every person will be attached a mentor, and we'll also be giving some speed mentoring sessions. And on the final day, which is on 8th of December, we are having a very grand event in Geo World Convention Center in Mumbai at BKC, where we have the stalwarts from the industry coming to share their knowledge on how to grow themselves as
Hmm.
CXO, and how to, because one as a coach, I know a lot of details and I know the steps, but what it makes to be at the CXO level, to listen from people and leaders from varied fields. So we have Mr. Harsh Mariwala, who is the chairman of Marico Industries, coming and speaking to
Yeah.
us. We have Dr. Miki Mehta, who is the wellness coach, India's most holistic wellness, one of the premier ones. He is coming and sharing his journey of becoming a leader and also about wellness for CXOs. Then we have Khurshid Batliwala, and who is an author, who is part of the Art of Living, sharing his side on the spiritual aspects of CXO. So, and we have CNBC TV 18 CEO of English Business News, Smriti Mehra, coming, Gautam Khanna, who is the CEO of Hinduja Hospital, coming, and we have Rishi Kannan, who is the RJ of Radio and the brand ambassador, brand head of Radio One. So, like that, we have so many, almost 11 speakers who are there, who are going to be sharing their secrets on becoming and walking this path. And I will be also summarizing the whole event and giving the participants exact anecdotes and the path framework, how to build your CXO roadmap. So it's a very action-packed 1 week boot camp, and I invite all your audience to come and be part of it. This will be a very unique experience, and a space where you create impact, where you create network, where you build your personal brand. These are the three objectives for my members who are going to be part of this. And I know people can be from Bangalore, Hyderabad, and all, but one, I would say this: unless you start investing in your self growth, nobody is going to do it.
Yeah, that
And
of course.
this
Yeah.
community is something where we invest, where we focus on individual self growth. So this is what
So
Future
how
of
do
India
people?
is all about.
Yeah, and since it is only 1 week away, how do people reach out? They can message you on LinkedIn, or there is a website or
So
something.
there is a website called www.futureofindiainc.com, and the registration links are up there. We also have our office number, which is given on the site. They can reach out to that. If you want, I can share the number 98190 08730. So they can WhatsApp their details to them. My office can reach out to them and share the details. So
Hmm.
so there are ways, and I really feel that for professionals, we really don't have a space to share, grow, discuss, overcome our blind spots, and create a path.
So those who are interested, I have just shared the website ID, futureofindiainc.com. You will see Radhika's picture on the front page. So that's the that's the main page. Limited seats left. So those who are interested, if you join, rush to the site now. You will find some seat. Coming back to the topic that we were trying to cover, I was looking for a particular question, Radhika, and we took Murthy's question definitely, and we
You
I'll
should
try and
ask
find that
me
question.
this. I want to share one thing. Why Future of
Sure,
India Inc. Right?
sure.
Why
Why
did
not?
we
Hmm.
coin this name, Future of India Inc.? India as a country has got this huge ambition to grow from being a $3.8 trillion economy to a $10 trillion economy. And by 2047, we are aspiring to be India should be a developed nation. This is what our Prime Minister has been talking about. And this is what, as an industry, we all aspire to be.
Yeah.
What are, who is the real beneficiary of this growth?
Hmm.
Who is the real beneficiary of this growth? Is it people who are just starting, or is it people who have already on their way to exit, or people who are in the middle who have the necessary experience, expertise, reached the position, and to lead this growth, we need leaders. Will you pick leaders from the beginning or will you pick leaders from the middle?
Hmm.
And if this is the space where the leaders will be picked up from, am I getting ready for that space?
Hmm.
Why should I not be getting ready? 15 saal, 16 saal, 18 years, 20 years of experience has not come just by default. A lot of effort has gone into it. It is worth in gold. Alter things and make your journey fast forward because the country needs people like you to lead from the front.
No,
And that's
totally
why
well
it's
said.
called Future of India
Future
Inc.
of. Okay, just about wrapping up, Radhika, and I got a couple of questions. One from Naresh Shivani, uh, and that's a little of bit of a in the gray space for being a CXO. So his view is that CXOs have to take not only unpopular decisions but probably borderline unethical decisions at time, and that is a very tight rope to walk. For one of the things is, of course, this is a popular one. When you ask people to leave, there is always an accusation that suppose I have to ask 10 people to leave in my global team, I might pick people I don't like, and or people, visibly that kind of accusation can be made. How does that anybody tackle this kind of an acquisition? Because this will happen all the time, particularly in difficult situations where you have to decide between lesser one, sin versus another sin, and it's the lesser sin that you pick. How does one reconcile with this, or do you help people do that, and how should one go about it?
At the CXO level, first thing is learn to be uncomfortable with everything. Step one, nothing is going to be comfortable. If you are aspiring to have comfort in the zone, it's a hot seat.
Hmm.
It's not said just like that. It's a hot seat, it burns. Sometimes it burns also. So if you are trying to be a people pleaser, wanting to always be on the good side of what people will think of you, this is not the position for you.
Hmm.
There will be times when you have to take difficult decisions. I'm not saying unethical decision, but difficult decisions. And yes, if that job requires to be done, like you said, you have to taking a tough call of reducing the size of the team. It has to be done. It has to be done.
Yeah,
And
and Naresh,
so it is, if I'm trying to get into the role because I will do easy things, that's why the role is only one.
yeah,
So it comes with the role. There is no option. Yes, so when people come to me, all I help them with in the coaching sessions is to make them strong about it, rationalize it, and also help them navigate the path so that they are able to differentiate between their emotions and their leadership roles.
yeah, and like you said, very well said, Radhika, that this is not for the faint-hearted. So it all the difficult decisions, all the situations come as par for the course. So if you are going to live in every situation as an ethical moral dilemma, then it is going to be very, very difficult to live that. Of course, nobody is asking you to commit a criminal act, but every decision that you take can be questioned by somebody else in an ethical and moral scale. And if you start responding to everything or let everything affect you, there is no end to this kind of conversation. So we are almost trying to wrap up now, Radhika. And one quick question I ask almost every guest that I have is that we will, of course, follow you on LinkedIn. We will, those who want, they will register for the upcoming conference as well, and it's at a very discounted price right now. So I hope people can take benefit of this, early bird price. But if, let us say, for any reason people are unable to do this and still want to upskill themselves in this space, any books or anything that you, any YouTube video or anything at all, any resource that you would like to recommend to people, who to at least stay warm on this subject, yeah, so
Hmm.
that next time onward they are ready.
Mm, see, I generally like to follow Simon Sinek. So
Hmm.
I'm more a listener to books than a reader to books. So
Hmm.
I listen to a lot of Simon Sinek podcasts. Then I also I actually went through this book CEO Excellence, which was also an interesting book. Then of course James Clear is amazing with respect to building habits and taking oneself to becoming more disciplined. So these are some of the few things. And my all-time favorite is Jonathan Livingston book on
Seagull.
seagull.
Hmm.
So that's one thing which I keep going back every time I feel, because that somewhere relates to purpose and pushes you to go back to and align with your purpose again and again. So I think those are few books which I would really recommend to people, and they can read or listen
Fantastic.
now. Yeah.
I'm so glad you mentioned Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Those who are not aware, it's a very, very small book, but it will take you a lifetime
Yes.
to understand. which is usually the case with small books that they are very, very dense, and each sentence has multiple layers and meaning. And this is actually, the author is, of course, Richard Buck, not Jonathan Livingston Seagull is the name of the book. The author is Richard Buck, and he has many other
Yes.
books, but this is like the crowning glory of his life. So, Radhika, we are at time, and I don't want to hold you back any longer. You have had a long weekend, and you are preparing for a long week ahead. Our best wishes for the upcoming conference, and I hope that more and more people are able to join. And as a follow-up session, when you are a little bit at more at peace, we will again have some conversation around the
Sure.
CXO topic, because this is a topic worth revisiting every few months, because you will also discover new lessons, and when you coach more people, you will also gather more insights into them, and through these kind of conversations we can bring all that stuff.
And thank you.
Venkatesan is asking about the book. uh, Venkatesan, we are closing the show, but the last book was Jonathan Livingston Seagull by Richard Bach, and there are other books that, of course, Simon Sinek and all that Radhika mentioned. Sorry, Radhika, you were saying something, I interrupted.
No, no. I was just thanking you for having me on this show. And it is always a pleasure to chat with you and discuss and brainstorm.
Same
It's
here.
lovely, I guess.
I keep saying that two friends talking in with an audience. So this is the fun of this kind of a medium, that we can have a chat on a topic we both like. You are far more accomplished. I have the questions, and we have an audience who can also learn through the process. So thank you very much. I usually end this show with the announcement of the next one, but I'm taking a mini break. I'm speaking next Saturday at a conference myself, so I can't do this the next weekend, and hopefully I will restart in December once again. With that,
All the
thank you
best to
everyone. Bye
you.
bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, and bye bye.